Chancellor Patton, President Gertler, President Pritchard, Justice Isabella, and Iacobucci, Dean Brunet, faculty, friends, and most of all, fellow graduates. Well, we made it. Congratulations. I'm so proud to be part of this great day. I've always loved Toronto and Canada, and with luck, this degree will make me a little bit more Canadian, eh? As I look out over you moms and dads in this audience, I remember my late father worrying as he wrote out our tuition checks so many years ago. How happy he'd be that Canada's greatest university just gave me a degree without paying tuition. One time I apologized to him because my tuition was so expensive. He shouted, "Why do you think I work? Why do you think I live? All we can give you is your education. After that, it's up to you." He was right. So moms and dads, you made it too. Could you just stand up and take a bow? Moms and dads. That's all my way of saying, I know you didn't come here to see me. But I hope the journey that got me here will carry some useful lessons. 64 years ago, my parents' homeland, South Korea, elected its first democratic government. My late dad, like you, a recent law graduate, like some of you, an immigrant, was appointed Korea's chief diplomat to the United States. Serving his country filled him with excitement and purpose. But one day, a friend at the White House called him and said a military coup would overthrow the government he was serving. He tried to warn people back home. They didn't listen. The military toppled the government, arrested my father's friend, the prime minister, and installed a dictatorship that lasted decades. The night his government was overthrown, Dad called the other diplomats at the embassy, and they all took an oath. They would never, ever serve a military government. But as time passed, every single one of them broke their promise, except my father. And so he lived his life in America as a political exile. One day we learned that his former best friend had been made prime minister. I asked, "Do you regret your oath?" And he said, "Never. That guy stands for nothing. If you stand for nothing, you'll fall for anything. And if you have no principles, someone will always hire you to say what they want. But what matters are your principles, not your job. Whatever you do, stand for something and know what you stand for." It was then I decided to become a professor, an international lawyer, and a diplomat, like my dad. A few days later, he heard even more shocking news. His friend, the prime minister, would shortly be executed. He went to the White House to plead for his life. The deputy national security advisor, a man named Walt Rostow, said, "We know where your leader is, and he will not be harmed." My dad was just staggered that America's power could reach around the globe to save a prisoner a world away. And then Rostow said, "What will you do now?" My father said, "I'm exiled. I'm unemployed. I have 6 children." Rostow said, "My brother's dean of Yale Law School. Let me call him and see if you can teach there." He made the call. A week later, 8 of us, each carrying our own suitcase, got on a train and moved to New Haven. I've lived there ever since. 40 years later, I was dean of Yale Law School. That's an American story. And while I was dean, not for 1 second did I forget that these two brothers, amid their impossibly busy schedules, took the time to help a struggling family make a new start in a new country. Growing up in America, we loved our freedom. We loved Broadway, the Beatles, and the Boston Red Sox. And tomorrow I'm going to go watch the Sox play the Jays at Rogers. I am, but they probably won't win. As a college student in the 70s, I went to Seoul. And while I was there, someone tried to assassinate the president, the same man who had overthrown my father's government. He declared martial law, tanks rolled, and soldiers with guns patrolled every street corner. When I called Dad, he told me Richard Nixon had just resigned. Gerald Ford was now president of the United States. But no soldiers, no guns, no tanks anywhere. He said, "You see the difference between the rule of law and the rule of individuals. In the United States, if you're president, the troops obey you. But in Korea, if the troops obey you, they call you president." I decided then to fight for the rule of law. A few years later, Korea's democracy was restored, and a quarter century later, I went to North Korea with Secretary of State Madeleine Albright. My mother had escaped from North Korea in the 1940s, and I saw the difference between the impoverished Koreans living in the North and the exuberant Koreans living under democracy in the South. The same people, the only difference was their form of government. When we arrived back in Seoul, we went to see South Korea's President, Nobel Prize winner Kim Dae-jung. Before he started the meeting, he said, "We Koreans are proud that America's chief human rights official is the son of our patriot, Hongju Koh, who fought so hard for Korean democracy. My father had died a decade earlier. I thought, Dad, you were right. Wherever you are, you stood for something, and they remember." So in closing, my graduates, those are the lessons I pass on. You live in a country with global power. Please use your training to serve your country, to ensure that it uses that power for global good. When you reach positions of importance, remember those who have nothing. Give them a chance. They'll make the most of it. You're all now guardians of the rule of law, which you know is under attack everywhere. So please remember the difference between a government of laws and a government of individuals. Stand for something, whatever price you may pay in the short term, because if you find the principle you're ready to fight for, that you're ready to die for, it will become your calling and the reason why people remember you. And finally, recognize you can't do this alone. On your life's journey, you'll need partners. Mine includes so many beloved friends who got me here over so many years, some of whom took the time to be here today. Remember your friends. Never forget to say thank you. Most of all, as they say on Broadway, some enchanted evening you will meet a stranger. 44 years ago, I met Mary Christie Fisher, that redheaded lady sitting over there. I flew to her side and asked her to join me. And ever since, she's made possible everything good in my life, including our children, Emily and Will, this happy day, and this unforgettable celebration with all of you. So, once you have found them, never let them go. Once you have found them, never, ever let them go. I'm so thrilled to be part of this day. Thank you, friends, for this special honor. Fellow graduates, I cannot wait to see what you will do. Godspeed and fly high.